Hello, students. We're going to be looking at another topic in mathematics class, which is square and cube roots. We have our slide there that's going to be serving as a guide for this class. So, what is a square number? Square numbers are the product of the same integers with itself. In other words, the product of a number multiplied by itself is the square of the number. So if you multiply a number twice, then the product that is being given is what we call square of that number. So we have an activities here just to give us full details to the explanation we have made mention. 1 multiplied by 1, we are multiplying 1 with 1, and by the time you find the answer is going to be what? Square of 1. Then 2 multiplied by 2 is going to give us what? Square of 2. So 1 multiplied by 1 will give us 1 raised to power 2, because we are multiplying 1 in 2 places. And 2 multiplied by 2 will give us what? 2 raised to power 2, because we are multiplying 2 as well in 2 places. So let's check. Now we have illustration here that is giving us multiply 1 by 1, it give us 1. Multiply 2 by 2 give us 4. 3 by 3 give us 9. 4 by multiply by 4 will give us 16. 5 multiplied by 5 will give us 25. And those are just the highlighted example of how a square number look like. Now let's look at a cube number. Cube number is obtained where a number is multiplied itself thrice. So when you multiply a number, a given number, you multiply it 3 times, then we have that as a cube of that number. When an integer is multiplied by itself and by itself again, the number obtained is called a cubed number. So when you multiply a number 3 times, then we have the cube of that number. So we have an example here. Let's look at what we have here. When you multiply 1 3 times, it's going to give us what? 1 raised to power 3, which is cube number of 1. Now if you multiply 2 3 times, 2 is going to give us what? 2 raised to power 3. Okay, now if you multiply 3 times, what's going to be that? It is going to be 3 raised to power 3. So let's have that 3 raised to power 3. Now if you multiply 4 as well, multiply 4 3 times, it's going to give us 4 raised to power 3 as well. And these are examples of what? Of cube number. So let's check what we have if you're right. Okay, so we have an illustrated example here. Multiply 1 3 times, multiply 2 3 times, multiply 3 times, multiply 4 times, and that leads us to square root. Square root of a number is obtained when you multiply that number by itself. So it's a product of number when you multiply another number by itself. When a number is multiplied twice, another number is being produced, which is the square root of that number. So now, for example, here we have this. If you want to call this, we call it square root of 16 or root 16. So for us to get this root 16, something has actually happened. We have multiplied 2 times. So you haven't multiplied 2 numbers 2 times, right? So that gives what? 16. So if you multiply 4 times 4, that 4 multiplied by 4 will give us 16. So root 16 is going to be what? Root 16 is going to give us 4. Now we have this exercise here. We have example. Root 36 means what? Positive root of 36, which is what? 6. But we can say that what is the square root of 36? The square root of 36 is going to give us a plus of minus 6. That is, we can have minus 6, we can have plus 6 for square root of 36. Then the same thing applies to root 64. It means the square root of 64, which is what? What is the square root of 64? Square root of 64 is 8. How? Multiply 8 2 times, we are going to get 64. But remember that we can actually express the square root of 64 as plus or minus 8, which is what we have here. So we can have it to be plus 8 or minus 8. But remember that whenever we are dealing with integers, any negative integers does not have a square root. Something like you have minus 16, you can't get the square root of minus 16 because of the negative sign. Now that leads us to cube root. Cube root of the number is the number obtained when a number is multiplied by itself 3 times. So when you have a number, you multiply it 3 times, then you have the cube root of that number. Now when a number is being multiplied thrice, another number is being obtained, which is the cube root of the number multiplied. Now we have an example here. This is 64. This is cube root 64. What is cube root 64? Now you think of a number that you can multiply 3 times that will give us 64. So, and that answer is what? 4. So cube root of 64 is 4. That is, you're multiplying 4 3 times. So let's look at the activities that we have here. The cube root of 64, as we have mentioned, is what? Is 4. How did we get 4? We are multiplying as 4 3 times, then we get 64. So now let's look at what's the cube root of 125. That is a number that you can multiply 3 times. I'll give us 125. So the cube root of 125 is 5. So by the time you multiply 5 in 3 places, you are going to get the cube root of 125. And we can denote cube root as this. That's the symbol for cube root. Now, okay, that place we are right. Now let's look at what we have next, which is what? Further powers or root. So what if we have numbers that is more than 3? We have looked at square root, we have looked at cube root, then we have fourth root. If it is 7, we call it seventh root, and that's how if it is 5, we are going to be calling it 5 root. So number can be raised by other power as well. 7 raised to power of 5 can be written as 7 raised to power 5. That is, we are multiplying 7 in 5 places. Now we have another example here. But if we have the fourth root of a number, if you are to write a fourth root of the number, the symbol is fourth root of the number. This is how we express the symbol. So now, for example, now let's look at the fourth root of 25. So if you are to write fourth root of 25, we are going to be 256 rather. For fourth root of 256 is going to be what is that value that you multiply 4 times that will give us 256, and that is what? Plus or minus 4. So if you multiply 4 in 4 places, it's going to give us 256. So that leads us to some past questions. We have examples of we have past questions here that we'll be treating and we're going to be showing. So the first one here says that we should write down the value of these numbers: 2 raised to power 0, 2 raised to power 1, 2 raised to power 2, 2 raised to power 3, 2 raised to power 4, and 2 raised to power 5. So we are going to be doing that together. And let's see. Remember, under the law of indices, we made mention of anything raised to power 0 is going to give us what? 1. So 2 raised to power 0 here is going to give us 1. Now, for 2 raised to power 1, that implies that you are multiplying 2 in how many places? Just 1 places. So it's going to be 2 times 1, which is what? 2. Now, for 2 raised to power 2, 2 raised to power 2 is what? That implies you are multiplying 2 in 2 places. That is 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is what? 4. 2 raised to power 3, you are multiplying 2 in 3 places. So 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is what? 8. Now 2 raised to power 4 is going to be what? 2 multiplied by 2, multiplied by 2, multiplied by 2. That implies that you are multiplying 2 in 4 places. So 2 times 2 will give us what? 4. 4 times 2 is what? 8. 8 times 2 will give us 16. So that leads us to the next activity that we have here. Okay, this is also another exercise that we are going to be doing together. We are to find t when n equals to 25 from that given expression, which is t equals to 2 root n. 2 root n. So let's look at this. Whenever you see n there, instead of n, now since they are telling us that they have given us our n to be 25, so you replace n to be 25 here. So we can now have it to be t equals to 2 root 25. Now, what is the square root of 25? What is the square root of 25? Square root of 25 is 5. That is, you are multiplying 5 in 2 places. 5 multiplied by 5 will give us 25. So we are going to be having to be 2. Remember, now it's going to be multiplied because we have an invisible multiplication here. Root 25 is what? 5. So it's going to be t equals to, what is 2 times 5? 2 times 5 will give us 10. And that is the solution to the problem that we have there. So we have the solution right there. Okay, this leads us to another past question. Let's see, we have this series of numbers here from 20, 21 to 30, and we are to, from these numbers that have been mentioned above, we are to write a multiple of 8, a square, a number, 2 prime numbers, factors of 156, square root of 784, 2 numbers whose product is 56. So we are going to be breaking them one after the other. What is the multiple of 8? That is, what can multiply 8 that will give us any value here? Now let's try. 8 times 1 will be 8, right? So we don't have 8 here, so 8 is not there. 8 times 2 is what? 8 times 2 is 16. So we don't have any value here that look like 16. But let's look at 8 times 3. 8 times 3 is what? 24. So a multiple of 8 is here. So the multiple of 8 that we can see here is what? 8 times 3, which is what? 24. Now let's look at the next one, the square root, a square. What is a square that we can find here? A square that we can find here is what? 25. By the time we multiply 5 multiply by 5. 5 multiplied by 5 will give us what? 25. So the square that we can find there is 25. Now, a cube. What is a cube that you can find there? Let's look at here from 20 to 30. What is the value that you think that by the time you multiply 3 times, will give us any given value from 20 to 30 here? Now, let's try 27. If you multiply 3 in 3 places, that is 3 times 3 times 3. What is 3 times 3? 9. 9 times 3 will give us what? 27. So a cube that we can find there is 27. Now, two prime number. Remember, we've told us before that what? Prime numbers are numbers that can multiply 1, can be divided by 1 and itself alone. So let's look at this. 20 through 26. 27 is not even a prime number. But let's look at this. 23. 23 is a prime number. 23 can divide 23 and can be divided by 1 alone. So we have 23 here. Again, we can look at 29. Let's look at 29. 29 also is a prime number because 29 can only divide 29 and 1 alone. So we have 23 and 29 as the prime numbers that we have here. Now, for E, a factor of 156. That implies that you are going to be, dividing 156 by these numbers, and any number that goes in 156 without remainder is a factors of 156. So by the time you do that, you get to 26, and you divide 26 by 156 is going to give us 6. So a factor of 156 that we have here is 26, because 26 multiplied by 6 will give us 156. Now, a square root of 784. So 784. Let's look at this number. What is the square root of 784? That is square root of 784. Square root of 784 here is what? 28. Because by the time you multiply 28 twice, it will give us 784. Now, they said we should look at two numbers whose product is 567. So two numbers that by the time you multiply it together will give us 567. So by the time you multiply all this number here, you try to look at two numbers that you can multiply together that give us 557, and that is going to be what? 21 multiplied by 27. So if you multiply 21 times 27 is going to give us 557. This takes us to the end of our class. We want you to subscribe to our channel, which is www.edubbey.com, for the full interactive content of this class. Thank you.